When it comes to pushing the boundaries of what is possible in the landscape of video games, there's no company that does it quite like Nintendo. They've created iconic video game consoles like the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Game Boy line, the DS line, and the Nintendo Wii, to name but a few. The story, game developer, and publisher has also been the creative force behind some of the most influential and critically acclaimed titles in video game history. Yet, even with all that success, there have been Nintendo consoles that have not been so successful. The specific console I want to look at in this retrospective is the Nintendo Wii U, a device I've been fascinated with ever since its unveiling. It's not my favorite Nintendo console, nor is it one of my most played, but it is their most unique and one I've always had a keen interest in. I want to delve into its history, have a look at the games on it, and illustrate why the Wii U was such a fascinating failure. Before getting into all that, however, we need a bit of a history lesson to put things into perspective. Nintendo has been around since 1889, originally formed to create Hanafuda playing cards. They would venture into game making in the 1970s, but it was in 1981 that their breakout game would be released in video game arcades around the world. Donkey Kong, directed by Shigeru Miyamoto, was a landmark title in the arcades throughout the 1980s, standing alongside the likes of Pac-Man and Space Invaders, and introducing the world to the iconic characters of Donkey Kong and Mario. Well, he was Jumpman at this time, but thankfully that wouldn't stick. Hey, did you know that Pac-Man was also called Puckman originally? You could replace the P and call him Duckman, call him Luckman, call him Muckman, Suckman. What a loser. Cockman. Nintendo's family computer, commonly known as the Famicom, released in 1983 in Japan. While it took a little while to see considerable success, by the end of 1984, it had become the best-selling games console in Japan. The Famicom would release as the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, in the US in 1985, and would be the driving force behind the revitalization of the US gaming industry following the video game crash of 1983. The NES and its successor, the Super Nintendo, or SNES, would herald a new era for gaming, and would establish Nintendo's dominance in the gaming space, as Nintendo went uncontested for years, and would maintain dominance on the gaming market in most of the world for over a decade, despite heavy competition from Sega.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo?
Get outsold.
Europe was the exception, as neither the NES or SNES were quite as successful over here as they were in Japan or North America. The Game Boy would also be prevalent during this time, and would be even more successful than the home consoles. During this period of time, Nintendo would create classic franchises all the way throughout the 1980s and 1990s.
He's back.
Is that a threat?
The Super Mario and Donkey Kong series, The Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Kirby, Star Fox, Fire Emblem, F-Zero, Earthbound, and of course, they were a large creative force behind one of the most popular franchises of all time in Pokemon.
Did he just kill all of them? I mean, they can't get weirder than that, right?
Sure you don't have room for another little bonus level?
That was for Yoshi's Island?
They also made Alexei Pajitnov's Tetris a household name with the help of Hank Rogers and Bulletproof Software. Then, released for the fully 3D capable Nintendo 64, Super Mario 64 was one of the earliest games to let players experience full 360-degree movement in a 3D space, which was a mind-blowing feat in 1996. It's a game that's still well loved and revered in 2024, despite some of the game's more aged aspects. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was and still is considered by many critics and players to be a masterpiece and one of the finest games ever released. Water Temple. And GoldenEye, despite looking like this, truly brought the first-person shooter genre to home consoles and proved they could be just as successful as those on PC. The Nintendo 64 was a successful system overall, with a plethora of iconic games, but the sales were lacking in relation to Sony's PlayStation.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived.
Pack up your stuff!
With the N64 shifting only 32.9 million units against the PlayStation's 102.5 million. Even compared against its direct predecessor, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64 sold over 16 million units less. Certainly not the result I would imagine Nintendo would have wanted. Further successful series followed in the 2000s, such as Animal Crossing and Pikmin. The Nintendo's GameCube console had seen flagging sales compared to Nintendo's previous home consoles. I know, baby, I know, I still love you. In fact, it was outsold by the PS2 at a ratio of 8-1? People really liked watching their Shrek DVDs, I guess. Hell, even the Xbox, the new kid on the block, had outsold the GameCube by a few million. And that had a Shrek exclusive game. I mean, man, this guy, this green guy, he really helped these consoles out. And I guess there was a Halo game too, I suppose. Those that did own a GameCube were quite loyal to it, however, as the system had a very solid attach rate, and games on it did tend to sell quite well. Even the more niche series at the time, like Metroid, Pikmin, or Fire Emblem, did quite well on it. Wii Sports was the quintessential Wii game, a pack-in title for the console, and helped propel the Wii to record sales numbers. It truly was a game anyone could play. Yeah, even you. You frickin' dumbass. The advertising for the console made it abundantly clear what the goal of the Wii was, a device to bring families together.
We would like to play.
Honey, get the bat. The marketing slogan, "We would like to play," could not have rung any truer, and played a big part in the Wii's early success. It was a highly effective marketing campaign, one that was pushed by the at-the-time current Nintendo of America president, Reggie Fils-Aimé. So popular was the Wii, in fact, that it was impossible to get one for quite some time, as shops would often not have enough stock to meet demand, and scalpers would sell them on sites like eBay for exorbitant prices. There was a real sense of FOMO around the Wii at this time, and Nintendo had the games to back them up. Super Mario Galaxy, Mario Kart Wii, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Excite Truck, yeah! And Super Smash Bros. Brawl, my beloved. And can't forget about Sonic and the Secret Rings. I mean, I probably can, but you know, it was another game. With all that said, however, and despite all of their success, Nintendo has had quite a history of difficulties throughout their time. As previously mentioned, the GameCube struggled against the PlayStation 2, the Virtual Boy was an infamous flop, the Nintendo 64 DD was another infamous add-on,
Itaraki!
and the Nintendo-Sony partnership might go down as one of the biggest fumbles not just in gaming, but in history. At least we got Hotel Mario out of it. An interesting thing to notice when looking at Nintendo's home console sales overall is that almost every second Nintendo home console tends to sell a great deal less than the previous one. I also emphasize home console, as their handhelds were not as consistent in that regard.
Now you can use your finger to keep Kirby on the right path and out of trouble. Kirby Canvas Curse for Nintendo DS. Rated E for everyone.
I ain't gonna touch that one. And the Virtual Boy, I mean, I don't even think I can count that one. That had sales of like 2, if I'm being generous. Towards the end of its life, the Wii dwindled heavily in sales numbers, and the software being released was admittedly less compelling, though with some diamonds in the rough for sure. Pokepark 2, did someone say Poke Peak? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's a fire type. He's a friend. He's a fire pig. He's tapping.
It was becoming clear that Nintendo needed to bring a successor to market, and attempting to outdo the Wii's success would prove no small feat for Nintendo. The first reports on Nintendo's next console began to emerge around April of 2011, over 4 years into the lifespan of the Wii. Codenamed Project Cafe, it was rumored that the console would have high-definition capabilities, a first for Nintendo, that the hardware would be more powerful than the current consoles on the market, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, and notably that the controller for the console would have a touchscreen and could even be used to play games off the television screen, letting someone watch TV whilst the other person continues gaming on the controller device. Indeed, once the 2011 Electronic Entertainment Expo rolled around, the Nintendo Wii U was announced with a debut trailer.
Yes, the game will probably still be right for all of us, but could it also be a perfect fit just for you? And the answer to that question is an emphatic absolutely. In fact, we're so convinced of it that we put that pronoun right in the name. So today, welcome to the world of Wii U.
The new controller is consistently highlighted throughout, with phrases like, switch from the TV to the new controller, get new views with the new controller, and take aim with the new controller. The constant emphasis on the new controller, while showing games like New Super Mario Bros. And Wii Fit looking awfully similar to the versions available on the original Wii, made for a confusing marketing campaign, and many were unclear if the Wii U would even be a new console at all. Not helping matters was the use of old Wii peripherals, like the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, as well as the Wii Balance Board, as these were all controllers used by the original Wii, which only served to make consumers even more confused, making this console seem like an expansion to the original Wii, rather than its own unique thing. It was a poor showing from Nintendo overall, and left many fans feeling unimpressed. As for those that got time hands-on with the console, many felt the tablet did offer a unique gaming experience, with the TV and gamepad switching, making for a different kind of gameplay. There were several tech demos available at the show floor, such as a Japanese garden flyover demo, a new Super Mario Bros. Game, and a Zelda proof-of-concept demonstration depicting the protagonist Link fighting a giant spider. They also had a video to show what developers were excited about regarding the console, and it included people from Electronic Arts, THQ, Warner Bros. Interactive, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, longtime Tekken director and producer Katsuhiro Harada, Warren Spector, creator of Deus Ex and Epic Mickey, and Ken Levine, the creator of the BioShock series. As for actual games that were announced at the conference, Satoru Iwata, the then current CEO of Nintendo of Japan, announced that a new entry in the Super Smash Bros. Series would be released at some point. A LEGO game titled LEGO City Stories, which Nintendo themselves will publish, and they highlighted a bunch of games that would be coming to the platform in a sizzle reel. Titles highlighted like Metro Last Light and Aliens Colonial Marines, dodged a bullet on that one.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Would not end up being released on the platform. Just shortly after the E3 event, according to Bloomberg, Nintendo's share prices fell to the lowest they had been in about 5 years, as investors were not convinced by the presentation and felt skeptical that the Wii U would be able to repeat the success of the original Wii console. At the start of 2012, Satoru Iwata would announce that the Wii U would be launching in most key markets that holiday season, and that the final technical specifications for the console would be unveiled during that year's E3 press conference. And so came E3 2012. And the first big reveal of the show was that Pikmin 3 would be coming to the console, which was the first entry in the series in almost 10 years, and Shigeru Miyamoto himself was there to present it. New Super Mario Bros. U was also announced, and it's a new game. Ha, this is the Wii one, gotcha! Warner Bros. Was there to announce a port of Batman Arkham City, a nearly year-old game at that point.
Alright, Mr. Reggie, we all know you're the man around here.
Another sizzle reel of games was then highlighted, and all of them did release on the console, except for Colonial Marines again. And an updated version of Wii Fit was announced. Wow, exciting. I can be told I'm fat in HD now. Ubisoft announced Just Dance 4 and Zombie U.
I like French food.
But before things get out of hand.
And they ended the presentation with a look at Nintendo Land. They positioned the game as a sort of successor to the Wii Sports games, as Katsuya Eguchi, the producer of the Wii Sports series, would be on the show floor to present the game to the E3 audience. While the game didn't look poor, it also wasn't a particularly exciting way to end the conference, as they didn't show much of what the game had to offer, and the presentation lacked energy. The 2012 conference was another disappointment, all promises and build-up but with little to show for it. On September 13th, 2012, Nintendo held another press conference titled the Wii U preview presentation to try and get as many people on board as possible before the launch of the Wii U system that holiday. They announced that the Wii U console will be launching in two variants: the basic set, a white 8GB console with the system's necessities, and the deluxe set, a black 32GB console with more bells and whistles. You get the game Nintendo Land and oh my god, 3 stands? Oh, pinch me, I'm dreaming. So what did they actually announce at the conference? Well, they spent 15 minutes talking about how I can watch Netflix on my Wii U, Stop, the excitement's too palpable. Nintendo TV was announced as a free service where one could watch films and television in a unified package of different streaming services such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu, and it even let you use your own cable network as well. It would also show info about the show or movie from Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, among others. The Wii U gamepad was also advertised to function as a replacement for your TV remote, illustrating one of its multi-purpose capabilities.
Nintendo TV is making a recommendation, or in this case it might mean that Reggie is personally recommending one of his favorite shows.
I'm a big Breaking Bad fan. It is true.
It's your favorite show, huh? Bear King Bad, huh? Games-wise, we got new looks at Nintendo Land, New Super Mario Bros. U, and LEGO City Stories, now titled LEGO City Undercover. Bayonetta 2 was announced as a Wii U exclusive game, and The Wonderful 101, another exclusive, got its first proper trailer. Activision was also at the conference to announce a slate of games arriving to the platform. 007 Legends, you shouldn't have. And they specifically announced that Call of Duty Black Ops 2 would be making its way to the platform at launch, with parity to the other versions of the game, a first for Call of Duty on a Nintendo platform. The presentation ended with a look at the full upcoming slate of games releasing on the Wii U console during its launch window from November 2012 to March 2013.
But here's the roster of what's coming for the full launch window from November 18th to the end of next March. More than 50 games in total.
Oh my god, NBA. Oh my god, Jet Tailfin?
Woohoo! That was awesome!
Nice race, Jet.
Oh man, did you see me out there? I was like, sure, and they were like, what? And I was like, oh yeah.
This presentation was probably the best look we had gotten at the Wii U at this point, as we learned more of its features, the release date, saw a genuinely sizable slate of game releases, even if some weren't particularly appealing, and got some exciting announcements. All that was left at this point was to wait for the release. The Nintendo Wii U would hit store shelves on November 18, 2012 in North America, November 30th in Europe, and December 8th in Japan. Coinciding with the launch of the Wii U was the release of Miiverse, a social media application that could be found in the Wii U's home menu, where players could discuss their experiences playing games. A lot of these posts were interesting. Hell, there was some guy who just talked about how nice the water looked in certain games. The launch game lineup consisted of close to 30 games or so, with Nintendo Land in particular acting as the sort of Wii Sports surrogate in for those that purchased the deluxe console pack. The console's flagship game is essentially a theme park, with the attractions taking the form of 12 different minigames, varying in levels of ambition and longevity. Games like Captain Falcon's Twister Race and Octopus Dance are fairly one note, but then games like Metroid Blast and Pikmin Adventure have a good amount of longevity and replay value. Some games are purely multiplayer focused, such as Mario Chase and Animal Crossing Sweet Day. It's a genuinely solid package of minigames, and it's all beautifully presented and featuring some wonderful variations on classic Nintendo games. But I think the biggest issue with Nintendo Land versus a game like Wii Sports is that with the usage of Nintendo's IP, as well as how the game itself was marketed, it lacked that inherent simplistic appeal of a game like Wii Sports, a game that was very clearly billed as a pick-up-and-play title that anyone of any demographic could pick up and enjoy. What didn't help Nintendo Land was that the announcement and showcase of the game just felt a bit drab, and it lacked that kind of spark that Nintendo games often have. It just didn't really have a strong hook, at least at any of the presentations where the game was shown. Also released for the launch, New Super Mario Bros. U was indeed another Mario game, and that's fine, but I can't imagine it was an especially compelling reason to buy the console when New Super Mario Bros. 2 released just 3 months before on the Nintendo 3DS. Wow, Mario's a squirrel now. Wow, he's out. I gotta go buy a Wii U. It's even the same formula as the Wii one. Grass World, Sand World, Ice World, Jungle World, fight the same bosses in the same order as before. It just doesn't have the kind of ingenuity that you would expect of a usual Mario game, feeling more like it's going through the motions. I mean, I can't even play poker against Luigi in this one. Bro, what are we even doing here? As for the third-party offerings available on Wii U at launch, Zombie U offered a unique survival game experience where you fight zombies in London, mate. Get my chip buddy, bruv. Batman Arkham City ran worse on Wii U than other platforms, but Batman and Catwoman did get exclusive armor in this version, so Cool. And Tekken Tag Tournament 2 let you live out your dream where you can play as a boxing raptor named Alex, who can then fight against a boxing kangaroo named Roger Jr. Tekken even had unique Nintendo costumes and oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Other notable launch titles included a port of Mass Effect 3.
My name is Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store in the Citadel.
Ninja Gaiden 3, Razor's Edge, Call of Duty, Black Ops 2, and Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, just to name a few. Oh, and of course, Funky Baron, my ghost. Journalists that reviewed the console felt that the system had its fair share of merits and shortcomings. The gamepad was praised for its versatility, with its gyro motion controls, its touchscreen, and being able to stream games from the television. You aren't able to go very far from the TV, however, as the signal for the device is tied to the console, and the most you're able to go is about 25 feet. So you can't really go out of reach from the console itself when using the gamepad. Also, if your walls are thick, just forget about that. It's not even gonna go that far.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Can't walk 2 feet!
Then he found the gamepad to be bulky and cheap feeling, with a glossy finish that made it look more like a toy than a tablet. The battery life of the tablet was also a criticism. Reviewers were also concerned about the system's technical capabilities, as many of the games available at launch were ports of games from the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, consoles that were 7 and 6 years old at the time respectively, which was concerning for a platform that had only just been released. This also ties into how the speed of the system's menus and user interface were considered slow by many reviewers and made it a tedious process to navigate around the console.
But everything is smoother from the edges to the aesthetic. Everything except the load times. Opening a new channel is a bit like opening a new app, and various features of the Wii U range from irritating to infuriating. You'll waste anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds accessing basic features like the Wii U menu or Miiverse. These loading screens don't have a progress bar and feel painfully slow.
Sales for the system during its first holiday release quarter were fairly decent for a start. By the end of that quarter, the Wii U had sold a little over 3 million units, with over 1 million of those in North America alone. Nintendo would cut their sales forecast down as a result of these sales, but Mr. Iwata himself would state that he believed the sales were not bad. However, the Wii U would end up selling only 57,000 units in the US the following month in January, according to GamesIndustry.biz, and it was even outsold by the Xbox 360 in the region nearly 5 times over that month. Going further into 2013 would see Wii U sales dry up considerably, and by September of that year, the console had failed to even sell an extra 1 million units worldwide over the span of 9 months. Third-party developers such as Electronic Arts and Take-Two Interactive would pull their support from the system as they felt it just wasn't financially justifiable, while even Ubisoft would cease making exclusive games for the console due to the underperformance of Zombie U, and they even delayed their upcoming Wii U exclusive, Rayman Legends, from a spring launch so that they could port it to other platforms. Much of 2013 would be a slow period for Wii U game releases, particularly the first half of the year, with Lego City Undercover being one of the few large-scale exclusive titles to be released for the console during this period.
Hey, Harry! How many coffees have you had?
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Did I have 6 shots or only 5? Well...
Okay, you've had enough.
Game & Wario, a spin-off to the WarioWare series, would see release towards the end of June, as well as New Super Luigi U, an expansion to New Super Mario Bros. U that focuses on Luigi, with a higher difficulty level than the original game.
ピーチは不安だった。いつもはマリオに助けられるのに。
It also tied into the Year of Luigi marketing campaign that Nintendo was promoting that year, and not to jump the gun, but... You got shot straight in the heart there. Nintendo would announce games such as Super Mario 3D World, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and Mario Kart 8 during their E3 Direct in 2013. These were genuinely exciting titles to see, and they had some games for more hardcore audiences to show as well, such as a proper reveal for Bayonetta 2, and a look at the next game from Monolith Soft, the developer of Xenoblade Chronicles. The presentation ended off with a look at the next Super Smash Bros. Game, and it was revealed as both a Wii U and 3DS release, a first for the series. New characters were revealed with very slick-looking cinematics, such as the Animal Crossing villager and Mega Man, which got many folks, including myself, very excited. This reveal was the domino that would make me want to purchase a Wii U. Not right now, I mean, what's even on it at this point? Oh, you drive a hard bargain. July would see the release of Pikmin 3, and though it would receive a positive critical reception, it wouldn't do much to push the needle on console sales. Likewise for the wonderful 101, released in September, which was actually somewhat of a commercial failure. Still a pretty cool game though. A remaster of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker would see release the same month, and despite being an older title, released for the GameCube originally, it was the push the Wii U needed to finally start building a little momentum again in sales, just in time for the holiday season. In fact, in the UK, Wii U sales saw a 685% spike thanks to the release of Wind Waker HD, according to the site MCV. Other big titles would follow in October, like Wii Party U and Sonic Lost World.
That was cool. Pun entirely intended.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
The Wii U's Hail Mary would finally arrive in November, taking the form of Super Mario 3D World. The game would receive acclaim from critics and audiences across the board. The sales were... it did worse than Knack. It did worse than Knack.
A game so technologically advanced, it would annihilate the PS3's puny hardware limitations.
I want to talk about development of Knack and why this game had to be next generation.
The sales were slow for the game at first, but it did pick up pace over the weeks, and would help the Wii U sales climb a few million during the holiday season, with units shipped at almost 6 million by year's end, though a far cry from Nintendo's initial sales expectations. Could Dr. Luigi use his skills to turn things around? No. 2014 was an admittedly strong year for the Wii U, and it would see many of its best games released during this time. Nintendo would open the year for the platform with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and it would see strong reviews, with many hailing it as one of the best 2D platformers ever released. And I'm inclined to agree with that consensus.
Mario Kart 8!
Would follow in May, receive acclaim for its refined gameplay and fun anti-gravity mechanics, and according to Eurogamer, it would sell well over 1 million copies worldwide in its first 4 days on sale. Impressive for a console with as low an install base as the Wii U. It would become the console's best-selling game overall, with sales hitting nearly 8.5 million units. Nintendo's E3 digital event for 2014 would have a heavy emphasis on Super Smash Bros., as they announced new characters and modes for the game, and they would also reveal Amiibo, figures that would work in the game as well. Amiibo would be Nintendo's attempt at capitalizing on the Skylanders toy-to-life craze that was popular at the time. They were first shown in this fun trailer that had Nintendo presidents Reggie Fils-Aimé and Satoru Iwata partake in an epic, anime-esque battle where they beat the shit out of each other. And now, prepare yourself for a rendition where myself and my friend Joe do all the noises. Wii U. You should have bought the Wii. Det är samma. Also announced in the trailer were Mii's, the custom Wii characters created by the user as playable fighters. Wait, was that Lincoln? Super Mario Maker, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Hyrule Warriors, and Splatoon were revealed and shown for the first time during the presentation. And we got updates on games like Bayonetta 2, the new Yoshi game, and the next Xenoblade title, now titled Xenoblade Chronicles X. And perhaps the biggest reveal of the event was a brand new Zelda game that was also announced at this conference, for release in 2015. It was a genuinely excellent and engaging conference with great reveals, good pacing, and infectious fun energy. They made it an easy watch. Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo Wii U would release at the end of 2014 as the Wii U's big holiday title that year, and after months and months of build-up, character reveals, flashy trailers, leaks, and the 3DS version releasing earlier in September, how would it turn out? As Grand Lake. This game was the reason I purchased a Wii U console, being a massive fan of the previous iterations of the franchise. It had a solid roster of new characters from Nintendo's own, like Little Mac and Shulk, to third-party characters like Mega Man and Pac-Man. It was the most varied roster in the series, yes. The online mode being split into 4 Fun and 4 Glory was also a neat way to choose if you wanted a more casual or competitive gameplay experience. There was a good amount of content in the game overall, and it delivered well on expectations. The main thing lacking for me in Smash Wii U was the omission of a proper single-player campaign, as I loved the Subspace Emissary story mode from Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Nintendo Wii. It was this big, epic story that had cutscenes of the characters actually interacting with each other, cool boss fights, unique enemies, just some really cool moments. Look, it's Solid Snake and he's there with Meta Knight and Lucario. I don't care. If you think these are just words, that's cool. It's cool. 2015 would have several big releases as well, as the year saw the launches of Splatoon and Super Mario Maker, among others. During that year's E3 event, Nintendo would highlight Star Fox Zero, with Iwata, Reggie, and Miyamoto shown as Muppets before transforming into Star Fox characters, and it was an incredibly charming way to highlight the game's presence at the event. Other games highlighted included Super Mario Maker, Yoshi's Woolly World, Xenoblade X, and we saw the reveal of Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival.
I wonder what's next.
Splatoon was something quite different from Nintendo, though with their usual stamp of quality and inventiveness. It was their attempt at a multiplayer shooter, with the main twist being that guns would fire ink instead of bullets, with much of the gameplay revolving around covering territories with as much ink as possible. Splatoon would be another hit on the console and saw sales of almost 5 million units, impressive for a brand new intellectual property on a struggling console. Then came Super Mario Maker in September, and as the title implies, it was a new Mario game where players could create their own stages, with 4 different game styles to choose from, where your level could look like one created in the original Super Mario Bros. Game, or it could look like a level from New Super Mario Bros. U. The gamepad was also very intuitive for level creation, as you could drag and drop objects using the touchscreen, while using the TV for extra clarity, and they worked well in tandem. Mario Maker sold around 4 million units on the console, and would be an exceedingly popular game for streamers on sites such as Twitch and YouTube. As for the other titles released in 2015, Yoshi's Woolly World was a pretty cute game. Look, they even made amiibo figures for the game, and they're made of actual yarn. I got the big one, Mega Yoshi. Mario Party 10 came out and kept the same stupid car mechanic from the last one, so it was bad. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse was another cute game with a great clay art style, and Skylanders Superchargers would feature Donkey Kong and Bowser as playable characters exclusive to the Nintendo versions.
Bowser is always my favorite. I don't know why people say that I look like Bowser and at times act like Bowser.
Xenoblade Chronicles X would also finally release at the end of the year, and Devil's Third was a thing as well. Lastly, they released Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival and Mario Tennis Ultra Smash as their big tentpole holiday games. And they were, well, really bad. So, not the best end to 2015 then, and things would only get worse as the Wii U would enter its final year as the dominant Nintendo home console in 2016. In fact, 2016 was so barren for the Nintendo Wii U, the Nintendo wouldn't even hold a digital event or presentation during that year's E3, as they instead held a presentation to highlight exactly 2 games, Pokemon Sun and Moon for the 3DS, and the last major Wii U title on the horizon, the newly titled The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Delayed from its initial release year, with little info over the next 2 years, it would receive a massive blowout presentation, with tons of gameplay, information, and a new trailer. While people were disappointed at the lack of games, this first proper look at Breath of the Wild was met with high praise, and left many fans highly anticipating the game's eventual release. So, what was actually released for the Wii U in 2016? Oh god! Star Fox Zero was released in April, and it wasn't exactly met with glowing praise. It was essentially a reimagining of Star Fox 64, but with a fresh coat of paint, and new vehicles to play with as well. It did receive some praise for its presentation, and the new ideas on offer, but many felt it was far too short for a full-price game. The main point of criticism towards the game, however, was the gamepad controls, which were seen as gimmicky and unintuitive. While it wasn't terribly received overall, it was looked at as a disappointment, especially when it had been the first Star Fox game on a home console in over 10 years. Aside from Star Fox Zero, there were several other titles released by Nintendo in 2016. Following the Wind Waker remaster from a few years ago, Nintendo decided to remaster another Zelda title, with The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD releasing in February of 2016. It was a solid way to play the game, with some quality of life features added to it, as well as a new dungeon. Well, if you bought the Wolf Link amiibo, of course. I love giving big corpos money. It's so epic. There was also Pokken Tournament, released in March, which was well received and a pretty enjoyable fighting game overall. June saw the release of Mighty No. 9, which turned out to be so poor, it made the consumers who purchased it, me,
cry like an anime fan on prom night.
And even had the original Sonic Twitter account making fun of the game's release. Ironic, but justified. Later in June, Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, try saying that 2 times fast, and Tokyo Mirage Sessions, #FE, likewise, were released on the same day. Birds of a feather and all that. And lastly, Paper Mario Color Splash was released in October, and it sure did release. And that was it for 2016. No, really. That was like, what, like 5, 6 games? Third-party games have completely dried up at this point, with the only bigger titles being the likes of LEGO and Skylanders, as well as the obligatory Just Dance game. There were still solid indie games like SteamWorld Heist, Super Meat Boy, and Severed, but it wasn't hard to see that the Wii U was very much running out of gas at this point in its lifespan. So clear was it that the Wii U was being phased out, that Nintendo barely highlighted that Zelda Breath of the Wild would even be releasing as a Wii U game, as the pre-release trailers, specifically those during their E3 2016 conference, wouldn't feature the Wii U at all as the release console, stirring the rumors at the time that Nintendo's next home console, codenamed the NX, was imminent. On October 20th, 2016, Nintendo's new console was unveiled, the Nintendo Switch. And it was met with a positive response, especially compared to the reveal of the Wii U, as the idea of the console was truly clear. A console handheld hybrid, and it showed games like Zelda, Mario, and Skyrim. It's a fantastic trailer that uses no words to describe the console, as by simply showing the act of people having fun playing, as well as how the console can switch between home and handheld, it communicates its appeal very effectively. By this point, all eyes were on Nintendo's next console, as the Wii U was very clearly being put out to pasture. On the 3rd of March 2017, the Nintendo Switch was released, and it was an instant success, as it had sold nearly 3 million units by the end of that month, and had sold over 10 million by the end of its first year. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild would launch with the system on the same day, alongside 1-2-Switch, which certainly exists for sure. Breath of the Wild was critically acclaimed, and was considered truly exceptional in terms of scope, innovation, and presentation. However, the game was not a Switch exclusive, as the game also saw release on the Wii U, its original intended platform, and would be Nintendo's final game on the platform that they themselves would develop. Breath of the Wild was the system's swan song, as the only titles released after it were indie titles and the odd third-party game, mainly Just Dance, but also Cars. Much of the Wii U's library would be ported over to the Nintendo Switch, and many of these games would see far greater success on the platform. Notably Mario Kart 8, which sold, let's just say a lot more. The final physical game released on the Wii U was a limited run version of the game Shakedown Hawaii, released in 2020, while the last games released overall on the Nintendo eShop before its closure in April of 2023 were the Silver Falls duology, released 2 months prior to the closure of the service. The online servers for the Wii U were shut down on April 8th, 2024, along with the 3DS. Games like Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, Mario Kart 8, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which still had like 70 people playing the night of the shutdown, and Splatoon had their last official online matches that night. And I played Splatoon myself until I got booted from the servers and could no longer access them. I have very fond memories of playing these games online over the years, and Splatoon's final hours really felt like a community saying goodbye, which was genuinely heartwarming to experience. And that's the Wii U, a console that had many difficulties and never truly got to soar. but had many fantastic games released for it and a genuinely cool gimmick, even if it did end up undercutting the sales of the system due to the confusion surrounding its release. Nintendo learned many lessons from the Wii U and paved the way for the Nintendo Switch, which would become one of the best-selling video game consoles of all time and is still selling well into the year 2024. The Wii U was a large-scale failure overall for Nintendo, but clearly a good learning experience for the company, as they still had a fair amount of success with the games on the console in spite of its low sales, and the Switch helped them to bounce back completely from this low point. And with that, we conclude the tale of the tablet between titans.